Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Now we'll turn to questions from the panel. Let me begin by recognizing myself. The Environment Protection Agency hasn't updated its locomotive standards in 15 years. A lot has happened in 15 years. The science connecting air pollution and health impacts is stronger. And our clean technologies are much cheaper and better. During that same period, the EPA strengthened or proposed to strengthen emission standards for trucks and cars at least 5 separate times. We are taking action on emissions across the transportation sector, and our workers and companies are on the road to success, but our railroads have been left to fall behind. In 2008, the EPA set longer-term standards, known as Tier 4 standards, for newly built locomotives that reflected the advanced state of high-efficiency technologies in 2008. It also tightened standards for existing locomotives when they're remanufactured to varying degrees. But those standards made key assumptions that railroad operators would continue business as usual rather than pumping the brakes on innovation. Ms. Torres, do the locomotive emissions standards established in 2008 meet the needs of communities today?
No, unfortunately not. Tier 4 is still diesel fueled. Our communities have been suffering and continue to suffer. We know that technology is here and it's feasible, economically feasible, to go completely zero emissions. We need standards that are higher and better than the 2008 standards. Although it was adopted 15 years ago, and I know others may say that is something that could have helped us then, technology has moved and will continue to move towards zero emissions to make it feasible. So we need something that is not diesel fueled for tiers.
Okay, so Mr. Rosen, can you describe what a Tier 4 locomotive is, just so everyone can understand who's watching this across the country? Sure. Can you turn on your microphone?
The Tier 4 locomotive became the standard for all new locomotives in 2014. It reduced particulate matter by 70%. It reduced nitrogen oxide by 76%. It is a very substantial step up on any of the other diesel locomotives that are out there. I would agree with Ms. Torres that we have the ability to also be moving towards zero emission, but there's an awful lot of very old locomotives on the rails right now that could be quickly replaced in terms of the cross-country piece by Tier 4 while we get zero emissions over the coming period to cover that also eventually. But certainly in urban areas, there's no reason we shouldn't be using the zero emission locomotives right now. And I'll also point out they meet higher crash standards too. There were better crash standards put into place in 2009, and by continuing to have the overwhelming majority of locomotives out there being older locomotives means that there's continued danger both to the communities where crashes might take place, as well as, of course, to the workers.
So just expand, what zero emissions options are available to for the railway industry to adopt for locomotives?
Sure. Right now, the company where we represent the workers has developed what they call the FLX locomotive, which is a battery locomotive, which can operate independently. And there's other companies that have battery locomotives, which can certainly operate very well in rail yards where they can be recharged there. They can also operate well going cross-country in what they call a consist, which is basically in tandem with a diesel locomotive, ideally a Tier 4 locomotive, and you can really bring the emissions down farther. And then when you get into the cities, shut off the diesel altogether and run off of just the battery locomotive at that point.
So let me ask this, in terms of these low emission and zero emission trains, are they commercially available right now?
They are, and
in fact, to purchase?
Orders have been taken for these battery locomotives, and in addition, They've run good tests with them in California. There was a famous example of that being done within the last couple of years to show how much better off they are. And then in addition, there are electric locomotives that are in use in a number of places in this country and very heavily overseas, and those are all available too.
Okay, so where are these low-emission and zero-emission trains manufactured in our country that are available right now? Where are they made?
There are multiple locations, but the biggest source for, and especially for these battery locomotives, would be the large facility in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, sir. Senator Ricketts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jeffries, some have accused